You are now listening to two dudes in their 30s with Adam and Greg. They're gonna talk about stuff, and you're gonna listen. Okay, got it. Good. Let's start the show.
Oh man. So how was the last 2 weeks? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Good. Just got back from Connecticut from Ashley's sister's wedding this weekend, which is kind of crazy for a couple different reasons.
Yeah.
One being that I was hit with some kind of massive illness, which kind of like stifled some of it. We got there like on Thursday night. And we were just kind of hanging out, and I had a couple drinks and got up the next day and wasn't feeling great, but I was like, okay, whatever. I'm I think I'm good. Got in the pool with Lucas, kind of hung around the house for the day, and then I started feeling like worse and worse and worse, and I started feeling like I had a fever, but I didn't know if it was just because it was like humid out or like what the deal was. But I didn't really eat much throughout the day. I was feeling a little nauseous, but I'm like, maybe it's just because I haven't eaten much. And I just kept feeling progressively worse and worse and worse. We were supposed to go to like a rehearsal dinner on Friday night. We went. I wasn't even gonna go, but then we went, and then I had to like bail early and like sit in the car by myself
Ugh.
because I was feeling so terrible that I just couldn't even like. It was kind of one of those like sicknesses where you just can't be around people. Like I just needed to be away from everybody.
Nothing personal. It's just like you felt like garbage.
I felt horrible. I was like pale, like as a ghost. I was super feverish, so I was like getting like bouts of like breaking out in like sweats, and then getting really cold and like shivering. And it was like we were outside. It was like probably 85,
Oof.
perfect night. And so then we ended up like having to like. Ashley came out to the car at one point, and I was like, "Yeah, I have to go." I'm sorry, we just have to go. It's her sister's like rehearsal dinner. I had to leave early because I was just like dying. So we're headed back to where we're staying, which is probably like 15, 20 minutes away. Of course, the baby just starts like screaming like ferociously. We ended up having to pull over into a parking lot to feed her.
I could just imagine the vein popping out of your forehead, and
I couldn't even function. Like Lucas was like kicking the back of my seat. I was like kind of going crazy for a few minutes, and then we had to stop at McDonald's, go through the drive-thru because it took a long time for the food to come out, and Lucas never even got to eat.
Aww.
So I'm like handing him chicken nuggets back like at 9:00 at night, trying not to like throw up all over the place. So we get back to the house, and I basically like I carried the car seat in, and I set the baby down, and I just had to like go upstairs and get in bed.
Wow.
And then I basically like shivered and then sweated in bed like all night. Like Ashley had to come in at one point and give me like a cold towel like for my face and my forehead because I was just like dying. Like I think my fever was like up to like 103 at one point.
Holy crap! It's gone. Like it's broke now.
Well, yeah. So I think the fever, like I was taking ibuprofen like pretty regularly, trying to just like knock it down. And I think in the middle of that first night, so like Friday into Saturday, I think the fever like at least kind of broke or like tailed down. So like when I woke up Saturday morning, I was like, I could at least like move. But like I slept horribly Friday into Saturday night. I was probably up like every 2 hours, like, and it's like one of those sicknesses where like your body just immediately like shuts down. Like the weird thing is I never really got sick. I think it's because I didn't really eat anything all day. But and I don't think I was super dehydrated because like I just never really got sick, but I just felt horrible. So like my kidneys hurt,
Yikes.
like my neck like was aching. Like, it was just one of those things where your joints hurt.
Like a bad flu.
Yeah. Lucas was down with something earlier in the week, and I think it's part of that. Like, it's like a strand of some kind of viral thing that's going around.
Yeah.
And it just, like, knocked me on my ass, like, so bad. And so, like, Saturday, you know how you have something like this. Like, it takes you a full day to just, like, get back on your feet. Saturday's, like, the day of the wedding, though, and we're doing it, like, at a house that we were staying at, that all of us are staying at. And so, like, there was some prep work to do because it's not like at a venue where you just show up.
Yeah.
Like stuff had to be set up. I ran out and did a couple errands for them, just trying to like shake it off, you know?
Oh no.
It was crazy. And then the second thing that made the weekend kind of interesting is that the day, like the weather on Friday was great there, like all day. even though I felt horrendous. Saturday, it was horrible. And like this was at a house, like on the grounds of this house, and so there was really no option to have people indoors for like a large portion of this. And it was raining like all day.
Oh no!
It looked like it was like a 90% chance of rain like all day, thunderstorms, whatever. And we were like, "This is what are we gonna do? This is gonna be so bad. Like people are gonna be soaked." And then we were kind of just like, "All right, we're just have to make peace with it." Like
yeah,
get wet. We had tents and stuff, but still, like walking from tent to tent and whatever is gonna be kind of crazy. And somehow, like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, like a miracle happened, and like the clouds like shifted or something happened, and it like I've never seen like a forecast shift like that, like in that short of an amount of time.
Wow!
But it literally didn't rain like the rest of the day or night.
That's awesome for them. I'm sure they were preparing for the worst. I'm sure
we were preparing so much that like in the living room of this house, we cleared out all the furniture and we set up to have the ceremony inside.
Wow!
We actually had the ceremony indoors because I had it set up so nicely. And luckily, the house was pretty big, and so there was room to get like 100 people in there, all kind of crammed in. And then they did that inside, but then the rest of it was outside. It was awesome. Like it was a really cool time. I mean, I wasn't feeling great still, and it was Ashley's sister, so I kind of took the reign of the kids, and I went in early and like took them to bed and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, I woke up. I didn't even wake up. I don't think I was asleep yet, but at like 12:30, like people were still screaming on the microphone outside, like dancing stuff. So I don't think they turned it off until like after 1.
Wow.
So it was good, but
nice.
It was kind of crazy, but yeah. How about you?
Oh, I was sharing like on the podcast with Terry.
Yeah. So first of all, I haven't even listened. Like, I heard a couple snippets, but I still need to listen to it. I figured like I would allow myself though to do this intro without even having listened to it, unless you just kind of completely set it up.
So, I had like this week a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Like
been dealing with belly issues lately.
Yeah, just having GI issues and like abdominal pain for a few months. So trying to get to the bottom of it. Like nothing is worse than the prep for a colonoscopy. I was literally on the toilet for 15 hours. Like you have to start. God. You have to start the day before and drink all this nasty like fluid that clears you right out. And it was like a fire hose.
Those people are gonna love listening to this.
It was terrible, man. I had to use your mother apparently told you, and then you relayed it to me that if you use a nice hot, wet washcloth to kind of clean up down there.
Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
You won't be as sore. So thank you, Terry. That was very, very helpful.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I think whatever. We don't need to get into this too much, but everybody's gone through it. You gotta help yourself sometimes.
God, it was bad. So yeah. So this week I did talk with my boss, and it was an interesting conversation. He's just a funny dude. He has so many ridiculous stories, and he only like literally gave like the tip of the iceberg on his experiences in life. And I guess like the thing I'm going to take away from it is even if you are like completely, I'm not saying that he is now, but if you are completely like messed up in life, right, and you're like totally on the wrong track and like everything's going wrong for you, like there is always an opportunity and there always is like a chance that you can turn yourself around and make something for yourself. The guy, he's running a business and doing multi-million-dollar every year, so every year is growing, and this is a cool conversation.
And this was our first podcast where we weren't doing a dual interview. So
yeah, man,
you took it solo this week, so I'm excited to check it out and listen to it.
Cool. What's up, T-Money? Same, but different. Oh, God. I'm sitting in my underwear right now. Just wanted to let you know that.
You look like you're lying down prone.
Yeah, I kind of am. This is my relaxation after today and yesterday's fiasco of crapping my brains out for just like hours upon hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was it good for you?
Was it good? Yeah.
No, I meant the doctor visit today.
Oh, yeah. So I went and had a colonoscopy. They didn't see anything, thank God. But just like the prep, I think, is the worst. The worst part of all of it. They make you drink this like fluid, and within 45 minutes or so, just World War III is going on in your bowels.
It reminds me of like South Park with the Trapper Keeper when Cartman had that alien ship in his rear end, and then it ended up, coming out, and yeah, South Park was good.
Yeah.
It's, I don't really want to go for one of those anytime soon.
No. At your age, what are you, 78? 95?
I'm 76 years old.
No, you're not. No. How old are you?
No, I'm 54.
So I'm sure you were supposed to have one by now.
Yeah, I just avoid it. I'm continuing to run 10 miles a day and not worrying about it.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to die out there running.
Yeah. So the guy was like putting the IV in my arm today, and his hand was so shaky. It looked like he had like tremors. The guy had to do it 3 times because he kept like blowing out my veins apparently, and I almost fainted once. My heart rate or my blood pressure or something like dropped crazy, and I started getting ringing in my ears.
My first thought is he probably thought you were a heroin addict because he couldn't find a vein, most likely.
Probably. I'm pretty thin. So I didn't even formally introduce you, and I don't even know if you want your name out there or not. I just kind of like told you were going to be on the podcast this week, and
it's fine.
All right. Well, I got T Money, Terry Moog, my supervisor, my boss, the CEO of my company, is on the air with us tonight. Greg can't be here this week. We're gonna try something a little bit different, I think, for the next few podcasts. I'm gonna interview someone, and Greg's gonna interview someone, and yeah. So anywho, this is 2 dudes in their 30s. Welcome.
Say something. That's that whole autism spectrum thing. Like I don't pick up on social cues,
Yeah.
That's part of that whole problem.
Self-proclaimed autistic.
Yeah. I got a report from the Campbell House.
And was it an online like survey or something?
No, they're out of Schenectady. That's what they do is work with autistic people and things like that. They wrote up a big report. I did a bunch of tests and had to spill my guts about my childhood and all that stuff. And then they wrote a big report up.
All right. Well, that's kind of what I'm hoping you could do today also. So let's just start with your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, let's see. That'd be a Wyoming, New York, which is the middle of nowhere. It's got 29 residents all in. That's the entire population, and
half of them were probably family.
Yeah, I mean, there was five kids, 7 of them were us, so yeah, that'd be a pretty small town. So,
wow,
a lot of open fields and farm country kind of thing, and yeah. So I was like nonverbal when I was a kid, but in the 70s, like what they did, they just beat you into submission if you weren't neurotypical in your behavior. No idea of what you were, just a messed up kid. They didn't have any of this like nowadays. They'd label the disorder and be like, this is what's wrong with you, and we'll medicate you. But back when I was a kid, it was just like, they just sort of used force to bend you into compliance with whatever the social norms are of the day. So that was kind of how that went. But yeah, I was like nonverbal until I was like 5 years old, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then I had all these crazy, they call them stimming behaviors, when and like you would you do all these things to make yourself feel better. Like there's rocking back and forth, you make auditory noises, you do all these different behaviors that are self-calming, and I was terrified of like sensory stuff, inputs like noise and like any loud noises. Like I was absolutely traumatized, and I ran away a lot, and that was a complete. I'd have these incredible meltdowns where I would just like destroy my, whatever was in my general vicinity. It was a pretty intense childhood that way. But I eventually, like you have, I had a relatively high IQ or something, and I was able to learn how to be neurotypical, they call it. So you, over the course of like 20 years, you kind of figure out how to deal with stuff. But I still have all the stimming behaviors, and I have all these weird little things that you sort of hide them because it's not neurotypical. But, there's like, how sometimes we'll repeat lines, they call it scripting, where you'll take a line from a movie and you'll repeat it back.
Basically, our entire conversation every day.
Totally on the spectrum. If you went to the Campbell house, they would just be like, yep, you're done. They'll put you there probably, I'm sure. But like there's all these different scientific, there's sensory processing disorder, that's a component of it. But there's on the spectrum, there's like a wide range where there's like severely disabled sort of, it's a really wide range, and there's highly functioning, and then Asperger's is a part of that, but they've gone away from labeling autism now as just the spectrum, and on that spectrum there's a multitude of different conditions, and they don't know a lot about it, actually. Just in general, we don't know a lot about the brain. So, but it manifests itself in some very unusual ways day to day, and I think a lot of my behaviors my stimming behaviors and things like that, I kind of conceal them so that
You think you do?
Maybe not. No. It's So as far as
so you grew up. You went to college, right? You got into some drugs and stuff. Somebody was telling me.
Well, I was good at math, of course, and then I got into a technical school, and there's this Native American dude named Raymond, which was not his real name. That was his like Americanized version. But he was like, "Hey man, you want to try this stuff? It's called peyote." And I tried it, and it was really different. So I didn't really know my limits. So that became like my sophomore year. I kind of experimented a little bit, and I would say that maybe to excess a little bit. I pretty much was, that was a really interesting time in my life. But I cracked down.
Somebody told me that you might have witnessed a murder while you were on peyote, or else you were just hallucinating. Can you
No, it was for real. I was walking. It was in Buffalo, and I went out to the street. It was like 2 a.m, and this dude rolls up and dumps a body out of his.
What?
Yeah, for real. I was just like, wow, that's not cool. And then, 10 minutes later, like they have this like meat wagon thing, and they came by and they just like chucked the dead body in the meat wagon, and that was it. But it was just obviously, they dumped a body right in front of me. Like maybe like I was kind of in the bushes next to a building in the dark, so I don't think anybody knew I was there. But yeah, that was pretty frightening, actually.
Whatever came of that? Did you have to like give a report or anything, or at that point you're probably terrified of state troopers? So
I totally just ignored it. That was like that whole semester was crazy. I went to the Who concert, and that was when the Who was like, this is like 81, and the Who was actually there with the Clash, and so I had this like lost weekend where I like hitchhiked to the concert. It was at Rich Stadium, and I sat next to this dude from Toronto, and I was like in the end zone, and I think the Clash was playing, and he's like, I was pretty messed up already, and he's like, "Hey, man," I thought he was smoking a joint, and so he ends up, whatever it was, it turned out to be like
laced with something.
It was like PCP, right? So I got like, I don't recall what happened, like the time frame, because everything was distorted, but I woke up and the guy was pummeling my face. Like he was literally beating me senseless. I was just sitting in the chair, like in the end zone, and I was just like getting pounded, and I couldn't defend myself because I had like no motor coordination, It was like really nuts. So I ended up walking out of the concert after the Who was on. I remember that. Like time just sort of fell away, and I remember wandering outside the venue, and I just sort of started hitchhiking again, and these two dudes picked me up, and I was like, yeah, I need to get back to downtown Buffalo, and they ended up taking me like to, like they just dropped me off in downtown Buffalo, me to where I wanted to go. They were just like, here you go, and like they dropped me off in the hood, and I just remember like getting back like really late and just being like, I really got to get my act together and stop doing this sort of thing. But yeah, it was a crazy time in my life.
Wow.
But,
all right, so I was talking to your son, and he said to make sure to ask you about a story with a baseball and a deaf person, apparently. What's up, Rory?
Hey. Yeah, so you're talking about this kid Ross Felder. Yeah, there you go. I can hear you better.
All right.
So yeah, there was a kid on the baseball team, and I told you before. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the whole autism spectrum thing going on. I couldn't relate to anybody on the team, and the only kid I could relate to was this deaf kid. It was completely nonverbal, and we just kind of hang out and did a lot of stuff, had a lot of fun, and we were down in Florida for spring training because I was a pretty good athlete, and there's this captain of the team, and I was like sort of really good at baseball, and I had different professional teams looking at me for actually playing baseball professionally, and this captain of the team just absolutely could not stand me for whatever reason. I don't know if he was jealous or what, but it was sort of the point I had these communication problems, and I just remember him screaming at me in front of the entire team, just as loud as he could, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And, like, I just sort of didn't get, like, the whole frat rat kind of thing, I just wasn't like that. And my only friend on the entire team were this African-American dude named Lamont, and he was the only African-American on the team, and this kid, Ross Felder, who was deaf. So it sort of, like, fit my misfit kind of feelings about things. I always felt a little out of place about things like that. So that was about it, really.
So how in the world did you start to get your crap together? Like, when did you actually start, like, thinking about starting your own business and and whatnot?
I moved to Brooklyn, and I moved down to Bedford-Stuyvesant. I thought that was a perfectly good neighborhood in 1985. It turned out it wasn't. It was like the highest, sort of crime, murder, crack, everything. And I never even looked at my apartment. I needed something for $400 a month, and I got off the G train, and I was like, oh, this is probably a really bad idea. And I ended up going. It was just one room. There was no bathroom. I had to share it with like a bunch of people, and I was working in the World Trade Center. So I spent a few years down there, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. But ultimately, I ended up getting into kind of the trades because it was it just seemed like something I was really interested in, because there was like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I love doing projects, and I got really competent at was really good at assimilating information and applying technology, and that's kind of like what happened is I ended up taking over this division of this company, and it was like doing really poorly, and I ended up building it into this $7-8 million thing, and I was making like a couple $100,000 a year and really loving life, and that was it. I just kind of was like, oh, I can do this, and that was like in probably my early 30s. I started to really get into it, and basically I had so many people that knew me that it just became really easy to get projects, and I kind of got good at what I was doing, so I just kind of stuck it out, and I just ended up starting it out of my house and building it up into what it is now. And it's hard work, and it took a long time, but it's, obviously guys like you and the people we have are why we're good at what we do. So that's all. It's just more of a process. We're just singular focus and just ridiculous amount of commitment and hard work over many years, and you just end up accomplishing stuff, even though I actually didn't think it was going to do anything. It was just sort of supposed to be a temporary kind of, I wanted to do something else kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it was one of those things. It was an accident.
Nice. So just going off of just like random things I know about you that I find hysterical. One, somebody told me, or maybe you were telling me a story one time about you used to sleep on like concrete or something, or like outside on the rocks or something like that because you thought you were weak.
Yeah, like when I was starting the business, I was really super focused, and like I would sleep on the floor because I didn't want to become like soft and comfortable. So like I just had this real hardcore like Spartan commitment to, staying hungry kind of thing, because it just takes an unbelievable amount of, commitment. You just have to be super hardcore. But yeah, that's basically what I did. I didn't want to sleep in my bed. I was just in this mode where like it's the do not fail mode, and you go into the wall, and you're all in. I mean, that's basically rule 101 if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You better be prepared to lose everything you've had, and you got to be willing to give everything you cared about to an idea. That's the bottom line, and that's how I was.
And that carries through though into like a lot of your hobbies and interests and stuff. Also, I don't know if you were flexing or what. You were trying to show off like all your running that you've been doing lately. You had something printed out, maybe from your Fitbit or something. You're posting all over the office, showing off your running stats or something. What are you doing?
83 miles, but that's that whole thing about needing a routine, and I'm extremely rigid about my schedule. I do everything the same way every day, and then I get I'm still living like a monk, practically speaking. So So you did, this week was 85 miles or something like that, and 83.
Okay, so I've never even seen you eat anything in my entire life other than Nicorette gum or like a Starbucks drink, right? And you probably, I've been to your home before, and I've done work there, and I actually like rummaged through your fridge and drank your only Guinness that you had.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing in your fridge but one Guinness. I was like, well, I'm really hungry right now, and there's nothing out here, and I have to work here all day. So I'm gonna drink. I'm pretty sure that upset you, and you didn't talk to me for a few days. But
no, it was drinking on the clock is I have very little control over other people. I'm fine. No, it's like I have no idea how I live. I don't.
Yeah, are you a robot? It said you burn 3,500 calories every day, but I've never, ever once seen you eat anything, ever.
It is. I have no idea what I'm living on. It's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I'm not like Skeletor, but I don't know.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. A weird metabolism, apparently.
Yeah.
But.
Oh Oh my God! So there's other stories that I found hysterical. Going back to your younger days, where you said you get fixated on one thing at a time. You were like mega into trains at one point. You were saying, and then like mega into pogo sticks or something.
Yeah, that was actually part of my diagnosis. Was like they were, asked me about my childhood. But yeah, I was completely obsessed with trains for like a good portion of my childhood, but that's one of the things that's part of that diagnosis is that you'll do these behaviors repetitively. Like it's just, you just get really, that's why I became a good guitar player, is because I just got obsessed with it. And I would practice 8 hours a day because that's like what I was doing. But you have this unbelievable drive to, you can't focus on anything else. And it's interesting with the business that's kind of how I was with that. Once I get into that, it was like, well, that's all I'm going to do. And I've kind of been that way. But yeah, so I definitely had a lot of like singular focus episodes in my life, and that would be pretty typical of me.
So like you can see a lot of benefits of that if you're trying to build something or like go after something. But what do you think the effects on like the bad side of having like a neurological like or a disorder or something like that?
Well, like you have like zero need to have friends or anything. Like you want to have fun and all that, but like basically like your need for people is reduced to like, you just don't understand why you would need to have somebody around or something. Like you can live alone forever and just be like totally fine. And it's kind of like that where you like you crave independence and you want to be, able to control your own movements and your own life. And I think that kind of manifests itself that way. Like even though I'm not, I tried to work out. Like in a marriage situation, it's difficult with a person like me because I'm not necessarily tuned into. You have to learn those behaviors. Anybody can learn neurotypical behaviors and know what to do. There's basically you can read a book and figure out how to make other people happy. It's like acting. You can evoke a great emotional response from an audience because of good acting. But essentially, that's all it is that you learn how to navigate in normal society. That's the main thing. And like eye contact was like a big deal for me. Like I still, obviously I can't look anybody in the eye typically, but when I need to, like a meeting with a bank or something, or I remember when I was trying to get my zoning approval done for my house, it was like the lawyer guy was like, dude, you need to get somebody to represent you because you're dishonest because you'll never look anybody in the eye. So I ended up hiring a guy just to talk for me because everyone thought I was shifty because I wouldn't look anybody in the eye. I was like, so as far as downsides, yeah, that's part of what goes on is you have to force yourself to like do things that are considered to be neurotypical or normal. So
I'm just going to use that as an excuse from now on at work that anytime there's a communication error, I'm just going to say it was your fault. Yeah.
I haven't really talked to anybody about all that stuff, ever, really.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody ever asked me, and the idea of doing a podcast and putting it out there, it's,
Yeah.
free entertainment, if you could call it that.
I just feel like this is a one-sided conversation tonight, Terry.
Well, yeah. Like I said, that's a scripting behavior. I mean, but it's hilarious, and that's why we do it, because it's fun. Like I love being able to reference a favorite show or cartoon and have somebody get what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I gotcha. Well, hey, man, I just want to thank you for your time. I know you got to go run like 15 miles tonight. 10.
I've done 120 days of 10 miles.
Seriously?
Yeah, I haven't had a day off, and I looked at my Fitbit, but I've been doing this exact route every night, and it's like, it sort of reminds me of be the accountant where you have to like finish it. You know, it's like it doesn't matter if I'm injured and how I feel. I'm just like I need to get it done. Extremely. That's where you sort of have. That's the strengths of being that way. Like that, it actually helps you. And so a lot of the things I try to do are put myself in positions where my ways are benefiting me and are positive, so as opposed to negative. So, but yeah, I appreciate you asking me to come on. Hopefully I was mildly entertaining and interesting.
Absolutely. Definitely were. Go get your run on. Don't shit yourself this week.
Right.
All right, man. Have a good night.
I'll see ya.
Yep, later.
Bye.
So that was my conversation with my boss, Terry Moog, the man, the myth, the legend. Just insane life experience, insane stories, and like I said, he has so many. Every day I learn some weird story or fun fact. Like literally Monday, like after I recorded it or whatever, he goes, "Oh, I was driving home and I saw a bobcat in the middle of the road. Somebody hit." So he got out of his car at like 11 o'clock at night and he dragged a live bobcat across the road to like make sure it wouldn't get run over and killed.
Never.
It's just
Never, ever would I do that.
I'm like, I don't believe you, Terry. He showed me like 3 pictures. It was crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So the guy's he's a mutant. And I thought it would be a fun conversation to share a little bit more of my life with some listeners. So
awesome. Well, thanks for doing it solo. Appreciate it. You know, I think it works this time around, and you know, maybe I'll do one coming up too. We'll see what happens. But appreciate you taking the lead on it this week, and yeah, we'll catch everybody again next week. So thanks a lot, man.
Awesome. So check out.
Actually, no, sorry, not next week. Not next week. 2 weeks from now. We're still in the summertime. hence our out of rotation, unable to focus podcast, but we'll keep them rolling.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Check out our social medias, 2dudes30, pretty much everything. And if you want to email us, 2dudes30@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. All right.
Yep.
Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Later.
That's a microphone. Want to sing a song?
Uh-huh.
Hurry up. Go ahead.
I will want to go round and down. People want to go up and down, over the down.
You say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.